welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be back. I took a little bit of a break, just kind of finishing up summer, hanging out with my kids at the beach before they started school and all their sports and activities. So that's kind of where I've been. I'm so excited to be back. I have a whole lineup ready for October spooky season. I plan on doing a video every single day. I don't know if you guys can really see, but I have a bunch of ideas that I want to do, and for the month of October I want to dive into a urban legend series. I don't know why, but I'm really into urban legends and I hope you guys are too. And without further ado, let's get started. I will say this one, I will give you guys a trigger warning. Luckily there was a good outcome of it, but it's really sad what happened because these girls were so young, but it all makes sense. Let's get into this. Today I'm going to talk about SLENDERMAN and where he originated from, how he's not real, but the sad crime that happened in relation to him. If you guys like these type of topics, don't forget to subscribe, like, and let's get to it. I don't know how to talk without my hands. It's super annoying and I'm really sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry because it's who I am. So before I get into what happened, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a background of who SLENDERMAN is, where it came from, because when I heard about this, I had no idea what SLENDERMAN was. I thought maybe it was an urban legend. I wasn't really sure, but then I did some research, found out that in 2009 there was like this Photoshop contest, and this is where SLENDERMAN had originated from. So if you guys ever heard of creepypasta, it's this thread on Reddit where people talk about scary stuff, but it's not real, and this is where it gets twisted because kids don't always understand the difference between reality and made-up fiction. In this creepypasta area of the internet, on the forum, it was called Something Awful, and it was this Photoshop contest, and this guy, his screen name was Victor Surge. He's the one who created SLENDERMAN, and what SLENDERMAN looks like is he's really, really tall. He looks like he's 7-8 feet, very thin, slender. Mom joke, I don't know, it's annoying. He's faceless, he's dressed in all black suit, and they came up with this myth that he stalks children. Now I'm gonna get into what happened. I want to say too that all these three girls, they had a great life. They didn't have anything out of the ordinary. They had loving families, parents. They had families that were involved. Nothing stood out that, you know, they had anything that had happened in their past. In 4th grade, Peyton and Morgan ended up going to the same school, and they quickly became best friends. They were inseparable. They hung out all the time. They always had sleepovers, and they basically were each other's only friends. They weren't outcast, but they weren't super sociable. They were a little bit more shy, reserved, and they just really took to each other. And 2 years later, in 6th grade, this is where Morgan and Anissa become friends. Peyton, the victim, says that's kind of when everything went downhill. Anissa became extremely obsessed with SLENDERMAN. Now, Morgan, her family does have a history. Her dad has a history of schizophrenia, and Peyton says that Morgan really believed in this SLENDERMAN character. She couldn't decipher fact from fiction. Peyton said she didn't love SLENDERMAN and everything that went along with it. Obviously, she didn't believe in it, but she kind of just went along with it, so she wasn't the oddball out, and she wanted to be supportive of Morgan. This is where Anissa and Morgan decided they want to be his proxies, and the only way to be his proxy is to prove their loyalty to him, and they had to show that they believed he was real, and by doing this they had to kill somebody, and in return SLENDERMAN would allow these girls to live in his mansion and live this life in his name, and it would be wonderful from there out. Also say that they believed he would harm them if they didn't carry out this killing. So the night before the stabbing, all three of these girls ended up having a sleepover. 3 of them were having a pizza party because they were celebrating Morgan's birthday. Peyton says that it was a little bit different than their typical sleepover because usually they would stay up all night, you know, gossiping, prank calling people, playing with their American Girl dolls, just typical little kid stuff. And she thought it was weird that Morgan wanted to go to bed early, and she thought that was a little bit off now that she's looking back at that night. Next morning, they woke up to go to the park. Morgan's mom says it was totally normal. They ate pancakes for breakfast. They were all in good moods. It was just like any other sleepover. Nothing out of the blue had happened, or there was no red flags. So after they had eaten breakfast, which was totally normal, they decided to ask if they could go to the park. The mom said yes, because they went all the time, and so they head over to the park, just the three of them. This is where Anissa and Morgan led Peyton and lured her into the woods. This is where Morgan stabs Peyton 19 times with a kitchen knife while Anissa stands over just watching. She was stabbed on her chest, her abdomen, her arms, her legs, all over her torso, and this ended up resulting in over 25 scars. And she was in intensive care for weeks. When they left her, these girls left her for dead. They thought she was gone. And thank God for this angel. A man named Greg Steinberg happened to be riding his bike on Saturday morning for exercise. Luckily, he ended up taking this route that was kind of closed off and it was secluded. And it was through brush and it was chained off. And thank God he did this, because this is where he ended up coming to find Peyton, who was completely soaked in blood. And she was laying in this huge grassy area because she had tried to crawl out of the thicker woods into a grassier area to try to get help. He says that she was crying and said, help me, please, I've been stabbed. He calls 911 and he's asking, you know, do you need water? But she literally had no more energy left. And on the 911 call, you can hear him talking to her and he's trying to comfort her, and he's saying, honey, it's okay, the police will be here any minute. And then after the police had came, this is when Peyton's parents were notified of what had happened. So I'm sure you're wondering, where did Anissa and Morgan go? The cops found them shortly after, still running through the woods, and apparently they were looking for SLENDERMAN to tell them that they had done the deed. Of course, you know, they become arrested and then they try to pinpoint it on each other, but you know, Peyton luckily was alive so she could tell them exactly what had happened to her. And then in December of 2017, Anissa received the maximum sentence, which was 25 years in a mental facility, after she pled guilty to being accomplice to the second-degree murder. And then Morgan received 40 years in a mental health facility after she pled guilty to first-degree intentional homicide. Here's where it gets crazy. Anissa, she spent 4 years in this mental health facility, and just Friday, September 10th, she was released. Now, as part of her release, she has to abide by some rules. She has to live with her father. She's subject to GPS monitoring. She is prohibited from using social media. She can never own weapons, or use weapons for that matter. She's banned from being allowed to communicate with Peyton or her family. What's crazy too is these girls were planning this attack on their friend for months, and she just let off the hook. She got 4 years. I mean, I know she physically didn't do the stabbings, but she partook in it and sat there and watched. I don't know, that just seems really odd to me that she got let off. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. Like, I know there's guidelines to her being released. I just don't think she should have been released personally. That's just my opinion. I don't think either of them should be released, to be honest with you. I don't think Peyton got the justice she deserves by Anissa getting off the hook so easily. But I want to hear what you guys think. I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.